Hope you guys are ready for the most toxic comment section that my YouTube channel has ever seen, because today we're going to be talking about the Moors. Yep, I know. I told you. So, who exactly were the Moors? Were they a brilliant group of individuals who came from North Africa and civilized the barbaric Europeans who were inhabiting the place during the Dark Ages? Or were they themselves barbarians, who did nothing more than spread violence and chaos? Which one of these popularly portrayed images of the Moor holds any truth or merit? What was their ethnic identity? Yep, see, told you, comments are gonna get toxic. But seriously though, there seems to be an ongoing debate as to how strong their impact was on Europe prior to Reconquista, as well as a strong emphasis on their blackness within the Afrocentric community. So let's just start off simple with the origin of the Moor. The word Moor has its origins in the Latin word Maurus, and was originally the name given to the inhabitants of the southern Roman province of Mauritania. Later on, the word would evolve into Moor in English and other European languages to denote Islamic peoples of North Africa, whom are typically of Arabic or Berber lineage. With that said, Moors don't belong to any one particular group, as Berbers are a diverse people who inhabit vast expanses of land, and an area larger than the contiguous United States, speak a multitude of languages, and come in all different colors of the rainbow. Not like the literal colors of the rainbow, but you get what I mean. This is due to thousands of years of trade, conquest, and migration through the region, from Europe, Asia, and Africa. This should be apparent in a simple Google search of Berbers, which will bring you images of people of Arabesque phenotypes, as well as people who are indistinguishable from Europeans, Sub-Saharan Africans, and everything in between. In a manner no different than Googling Americans and finding people of all different races and ethnicities. This is not only evident in today's Northern African populations, but also in depictions of them by European artists from ancient and medieval times. Perhaps the most famous Black Moor of Europe, and most widely depicted in their artwork, is Saint Maurice, a Roman soldier of Egyptian origin who was the patron saint of the Vatican's Swiss Guard.
I knew that the Egyptians was black. See, that's proof right there.
No, I'm not saying that all Egyptians were black, but I'm saying that you were just as likely to find black Egyptians within that region, or even white ones, for the same reason specified previously when I described Berbers. Anyway, born sometime in the 3rd century CE, he gained sainthood by refusing to comply with orders from Roman Emperor Maximian to sacrifice Christian rebels from the Gaulish army to Roman gods. As a result of this, he and his Theban legion were executed in the year 286 CE. Further evidence of his Moorish identity can be found not only in his obvious appearance or Egyptian origin, but his name itself, as the name Maurice is derived from the Latin Moris, which I covered earlier in the video, which of course later evolved into the word Moor. But one detail I didn't mention was that the word Moor literally translates to dark.
Okay, so like I was saying, they was black.
Again, no. This is not to say that all Moors were black in the same sense as Sub-Saharan Africans. It was likely to denote the fact that the peoples of North Africa were typically darker than the average fair-skinned European, even those that we would classify today as having a medium brown skin tone. However, Saint Maurice was undeniably black, even in our modern-day classifications of race, and was one of many types of North African peoples who would be classified as Moors by Europeans. Whoever sculpted this should be fired, by the way. So, as the Western Roman Empire fell into decline between the years of 500 and 1000 CE, Europe fell into what is known today as the Dark Ages. A regression in European art, architecture, and overall quality of life, with most of its population being illiterate, as the only value placed in literacy was among nobles and monks for religious purposes only. Former cities and holdings of Rome fell into a state of chaos, disarray, and poverty. Rome's southern provinces, however, remained largely intact and even thrived, as this period coincided with the birth of Islam. Islamic peoples retained many of the developments of the Roman Empire from former Roman cities that they had conquered, and even built upon them through trade and warfare, spreading their religion and developments through all lands that they had occupied. Within a century, they had conquered virtually all cities of the Maghreb through a chain reaction of movements, perhaps most famous of these being the Almoravid dynasty. The Almoravids would move into the devolved Visigothic kingdom of Spain in 1086, conquering virtually all of the Iberian Peninsula by force, before being stopped in their tracks by the Franks. And just to be clear, the Almoravids were not the first Muslims to invade Spain, as the region had already been conquered by the Umayyad dynasty 375 years prior in 711 CE. For the next 700 years, a series of Islamic states reigned over the region, which the Arabs called Al-Andalus, or Land of the Vandals, a name which would later become corrupted to Andalusia by the Spanish. These Islamic strangers had a strong impact on European art, architecture, and science, bringing new crops such as oranges, rice, avocados, and bananas, while also introducing new or forgotten technologies such as water wheels. 10th century Arabic writers of the time described the indigenous Iberian peoples as living in wooden hovels as they trod upon straw, while the Moorish Cordova Caliphate was described as living in a fortified town surrounded by massive stone walls and very fine streets. Many of the structures from the Moors can still be viewed to present day. These writers also claim that the only parts of the European continent that didn't live in barbaric ignorance or savage manners were the regions where remnants of the Roman Empire were still able to maintain some trace of the Roman influence, and that Moorish cities of Cordova were famously regarded for having polished manners, superior intelligence, exquisite taste in their meals, dress, and their horses. They were also regarded for their remarkable attention to astronomy, chemistry, medicine, and geography. In fact, European rulers of the time were punishing individuals for intellectual progress, blinded and confused by practices that seemed ungodly, such as the association of astrology with astronomy. The Moors, on the other hand, were promoting intellectual progress and were even regarded as the most proficient group in medicine and surgery in both Sicily and Spain throughout the Middle Ages. In 1492, after years of conflict, a collective force of Catholic kings finally drove the Muslims out of Europe for good, destroying much of what they had built or converting the structures into churches, all the while burning several centuries worth of books and knowledge that had accumulated during the time of Moorish rule. So, to answer the two big questions that are likely going to lead to a very interesting comment section, what was the race or ethnicity of the Moors? Asking this question is similar to asking the race of an American. They are a combination of races that could be as white as Europeans or as black as sub-Saharan Africans. The majority of them, however, were completely indigenous to North Africa and would look something similar to most of North Africa's population today, which would be a medium brown people who are neither black or white, or even Arab for that matter. Despite the strong linguistic and cultural influence that Arabs had in the region, but I'm not going to get into the specifics of the North African genetic history, because that would require an entirely separate video. And then the other big question of the video that I answered was, did the Moors civilize Europe? Well, the whole concept of civilizing someone is flawed to begin with, as its entire concept has its origins in people with supremacist ideologies. However, if the question is whether or not the Moors had a dramatic influence on Europe's technology and science, then the answer is yes, but also no. For the most part, the Moors revitalized knowledge and culture that had already been known in Europe under Roman rule. It had simply been destroyed, forgotten, or ignored after the fall of the Roman Empire and the rise of Christian royal families. However, some new crops, ideas, and innovations were brought to Europe by the Moors. In general, the Moors did have a dramatic effect on bringing Europe out of its dark ages and directly influenced the continent's future cultural transitions and technological breakthroughs. Thanks for watching, guys.